Good morning to all. Few messages to start with. Number one, enrolled students who are attending on Zoom will be initially kept on mute, as is the norm during my deliveries in the workshop. You will have the option to unmute yourself once the Q&A section starts, which is planned to clear your important queries. Make sure you keep taking notes of things you found important and also the ones which you are curious about. Today's workshop, as I have mentioned earlier, will be more information oriented. So no tests today. Those resume from the next week. So again, welcome all to the session, including those who have joined us on YouTube Live. You may also keep posting queries that you have and the ones those arise during the session in the live chat. You can post them in the live chat, that is. If someone is watching this later on YouTube, you may post your queries in the comment section below. We will always engage with genuine queries. So without further ado, let's start our session today. The reason we are conducting the session now is because the forms will start releasing very soon. Tentatively, CAT will release within the next 2 weeks. Soon after, ZAT, NMAT, IIFT should also follow. The college applications will also start. Don't worry, we will notify these in our Telegram channel, FB page, Instagram handle, etc. If you're not part of these groups, then just search for MathOratory in Telegram, in FB, in Instagram, and you'll find the relevant channel or page or handle accordingly. So let's start this off. So first, we'll start with some information on the top B schools of India. Note that I have included ISB Hyderabad in this list because it belongs here. But GMAT is the entrance test for ISB Hyderabad. We train students for GMAT, applying to Indian B schools and abroad, whatever. But since GMAT training is slightly different from CAT and OMETS training, we have a separate course for GMAT. So this workshop being part of the CAT and OMETS training. So today we will not be detailing much about GMAT. However, if any one of you is interested in knowing about this exam, I'll be happy to discuss the same, let's say during the Q&A section. Now, firstly, I should mention that I personally don't prefer to look into rankings of B schools as is, especially when it comes to college selections. I prefer to look into them as categories. Then students have a better idea in terms of their preferences. I've taken two factors to form these categories: value and consistency. These are the two factors that are considered. I have categorized those colleges as the Creme-de-la-creme, which have consistently maintained a top brand value and currently continues to do so. So, for example, I am Ahmedabad, I am Bangalore, I am Calcutta, I am Lucknow, IIFT Jamshedpur, FMS Delhi, SP Jain, I am Kozhikode, JBMS, IIFT Delhi. All these colleges should be at the tip of your tongue, any which way, right? These are the top colleges which have maintained their brand value throughout their life, something like that, throughout their existence. So I know that you will already be aware about these colleges, most of you, but just to give you a little brief, barring ISB Hyderabad, XLRI Jamshedpur, JBMS Mumbai, and IIFT Delhi. So barring these 4 B schools, the rest, all of the 6 accepts CAT as their entrance test. ISB Hyderabad, as I already talked about, accepts GMAT. XLRI has its own exam, ZAT, XAT. JBMS has their own exam, Maharashtra CET. IIFT Delhi has their own exam, just named IIFT only. SP Jain, on the other hand, as I mentioned, it does accept CAT score, but it also accepts ZAT score, and in recent times have started accepting GMAT scores also, at least for some of their courses. If not, I'll have to check that myself, but it's easy to find in the website. So SP Jain accepts CAT score, ZAT score, and GMAT score to some extent. So these are the Creme-de-la-creme colleges. Moving on. This page has those colleges which can either be considered elite B schools in some regards or have improved very rapidly since its inception and continues to improve at present as well. So for instance, if you take MDI Gurgaon has maintained quite a solid reputation in the corporate throughout their existence. Marginally misses out right now for the Creme-de-la-creme category in my books due to the strong competition from those 10 colleges. But nevertheless, MDI Gurgaon can definitely be considered one of the elite B schools of India. IIM Ranchi and IIM Shillong, for example, have been improving very rapidly since their inception. So these are all of these actually are some B schools which you can consider currently as elite, or definitely has the potential to become elite in terms of their growth and the way they conduct their course, the faculties that they have, the type of course design is there in terms of interaction between students and those kind of things, the kind of corporate relationships that they maintain. So they definitely have been growing so that they can become one of the elite B schools. So this consists of those colleges. So you can definitely look into that as well. Now, moving to the next category, this basket comprises those B schools which can currently be definitely considered as decent B schools and also solid in some regards. So MICA, for example, in this page, has a very unique course for marketing and communications. Even in their placements, whether you consider the final placements or you consider the internships, this specialized course is well reflected in the placements as well. So you can definitely consider MICA as an option if marketing fancies you as a career option. IIM Udaipur and IIM Kashipur, these two, have also been improving quite rapidly since their inception, which was not very far away, by the way. When I was doing my internship in Delhi, we had a stay in IIT Delhi. My roommate was from IIM Calcutta, but we met a couple of people from IIM Udaipur. They were in the room adjacent to us. They had good internships as well at that time, and this is way back in 2012 I'm talking about. So Udaipur and Kashipur, as I hear, even now have been improving consistently. I've heard this from some of my students who have gone to those colleges, some of my peers as well, who find colleagues in different places that they work from these colleges. So Udaipur and Kashipur has been developing quite good, so don't ignore that. So these are some these schools which are currently already good, so have been existing for a while. So you can definitely consider them as an option for that regard. Or these schools which have really good potential, so they have been improving quite rapidly. So you can consider that as an option. So depends, as I said initially, this is a general overview, so it will depend on your personal preference as well. We'll come to that part. Now, finally, coming to some decent B schools, which can also be considered as good backups for those who are interested to keep backups, that is. Please understand that today our motive is to give you a relevant overview, as I was mentioning, of these B schools. But the decisions that you would take in terms of college selections would be and should be a little specific in terms of your personal career preferences. So all of our students who are enrolled with us in the comprehensive course or the live one-to-one full course will get the individual B school counseling starting from the upcoming week. You will receive a relevant email within the next week regarding those details, you might say. So moving on, I would also share this PPT, the relevance part of this, in some sort of PDF format to be uploaded in the course, along with the recording once it is uploaded in the course I'm talking about. So the course, you don't have to, I mean, the enrolled students, this message is that specifically to the enrolled students. So the enrolled students, you don't have to look for the recording in the YouTube. You can find it in the course as normally it happens. So once the recording is uploaded, I'll share a PDF to the admin team. They can work on it a little bit and then they can share it with you in some format. So let's now move to the next section. So the written test. We will discuss briefly on the important things to note for these top 5 exams and few more important ones. As you already know, once we start the phase 3 of our workshops, that is the marathons, we will have specialized workshops for each of these top 5 exams. So in those sessions, we will elaborate on the intricate details of each test a little bit more. Today, however, let me give you a small brief, and let's start with your favorite one, that is CAT. See the patterns in the slides that I mentioned. So The pattern is basically that of the last term. So for example, for CAT 2021, this was the pattern. So first of all, the mode of the exam. The mode of the exam was computer-based test. So it's all of these are online tests, by the way, nowadays. So this is also an online test, but it's a computer-based test. Why I'm mentioning this way, you will understand in the very next slide. Questions, there are 24. Again, this is the pattern for last year. So we had 24 verbal ability questions, 20 questions in LR, and 22 questions in QA, to summarize very briefly. Now, the 24 questions in BA, we had 4 RCs, reading comprehension, that is, each having 4 questions. So that is 16 questions in total. And then 8 questions of parajumbles. Then you have odd one outs and summaries mixed up. So maybe 3-3-2 or something like that. So that were the 24 BA questions. The 20 LR questions were simply 4 sets, 2 of 6 questions each and 2 of 4 questions each. So that was for LR, and 22 QA question. And the time given allotted was 40 minutes for each section. So I hope all of you are aware of this by now, that CAT has sectional time limit. So you have 40 minutes for each and every section. You cannot carry forward a time of one section to another section. By the way, this is a well-known saying of CAT, expect the unexpected. You can very well see this year, I mean, it can very well happen that because the COVID restrictions are slowly getting lift off very, very rapidly, CAT can very well roll back to the 3-hour test of 60 minutes each and 34 questions. So they can roll back to the, up to 2019 pattern. So that was 2015 to 2019 pattern. So expect the unexpected. Hence, the way we, structure our course in terms of workshops, in terms of mock analysis and those kind of things, we will never create a strategy for you just limited or which is rigid by nature. So it will be completely flexible. It will be completely so that you can be dynamic in terms of question selection and decision making and those kind of things. So that is our target, and you will understand that slowly. I think you might have understood to some extent from the workshops in phase 1 that we have already completed. Marking scheme, I think you should be already aware of. All the sections are the same marking scheme. For correct answer, you get +3, and incorrect answers for the MCQ ones, the ones which have options. In those cases, incorrect answer will fetch you a penalty of 1 mark. But the ones in which you have to input an answer, so those are type answer questions. That is what CAT terms is that, or you can say numeric answers. So you just need to input a numeric value to the answer. They don't carry any negative mark for obvious reasons, and unattempted also doesn't have any negative marks. So this is in brief the pattern of CAT, which I guess most of you will be well aware of by now. Now coming to NMAT. Now this is why I was focusing on the computer-based test, for example. NMAT is nowadays conducted by GMAT. I mean, when I say nowadays, it has been conducting, GMAT has been conducting NMAT since 2015. GMAT is the one which also conducts GMAT worldwide. So they have started, they have just taken NMAT under their umbrella, and they have started the adaptive nature of it since 2020. So I would just like to brief a little bit about the adaptive thing. So when you have an adaptive test, I hope you can see that there is no direct negative marking. So what I mean by direct negative marking, first and foremost, is that you don't get a negative marks at all for any wrong answer. But then why am I saying no direct negative? So that is because of the nature of the adaptive test. So what happens in an adaptive test is, this is general for any kind of adaptive test, whether it is question-wise adaptive or it is section-wise adaptive. For example, GRE is section-wise adaptive. But let's focus on the question-wise adaptive test in MAT, obviously, and also GMAT. The same thing happens. So once you start the test, the first question on that section will be of a moderate level, a certain level in between something. If you answer that question correctly, the next question you will get will be of a slightly higher level of difficulty. it might happen after 2-3 correct answers also that the level jumps, but it will happen. The exam will keep track of your performance. I mean, it will keep on checking your answer as you mark them. That is the point. So once you mark a particular answer, depending on that being correct or incorrect, you move. You can imagine for this understanding as of now, as you move one level up or one level down, something like this, depending on whether it's correct or incorrect. Now, the higher level of difficulties will obviously have higher weightage to the questions, and the lower level of difficulties will obviously have lower weightage of the question. So I hope you can see that you have 36 questions in VA, 36 questions in QADI, 36 questions in LRCR. I'm coming to the names in a while, but that is a total of 108 questions, right? So for these sections, what you will get is you will get a scaled score of 120. So that will depend on your, answering the correct question or not. So why am I saying that no direct negative marking, or what do I mean by indirect negative marking? So suppose you make a lot of mistakes. I mean, even if you make one mistake or two mistakes one after the other, then your levels will go down rapidly, right? So you are not getting negative marking, but your potential to get a higher score reduces, because you are getting a lower level of difficulty automatically implies that you are getting a lower weightage of questions. So the weightage that particular question will carry will be lower compared to a higher one, which you could have provided you answered it correctly. So hence there is a indirect negative marking when considered. So, and also important to note that you cannot skip. You cannot go back. You have to answer each and every question in the sequence. So the sequence thing that we discuss usually in workshops, that doesn't work in adaptive test. Or for adaptive test, you have a different kind of strategy, but there exists a strategy. Don't worry about that. When we will do the NMAT marathon in our phase 3, we will discuss that in much more details. So for now, this is the rough view. Just the name of this QA-DI. I mean, you know what is QA, you know what is DI. So what NMAT does is they keep QA and DI as one section. So in this section, you will have QA question as well as DI questions. And LRCR, I mean, LR is logical reasoning, you know that. CR is critical reasoning. So I think they call it LR only, but I've written this as LRCR because you do have some critical reasoning type of questions. You have some cause effect type of questions. You have some, decision-based questions. You have some typical critical reasoning questions. I mean, weakening the argument, strengthening the argument, those sorts, assumptions and stuff like that. So those are part of this third section. That is not with VA. VA is pure English. I think they call it language skills or something, the VA section, NMAT as they term it. So that is purely grammar and RC. So that is the first section. So that is all about NMAT I wanted to discuss. Now coming to ZAT, by the way, the exams that all the exams that I'm going to discuss, among them, only NMAT is computer adaptive. Rest, all of them are computer based, including CAT. So coming to ZAT, first of all, ZAT has two parts in their paper. First part is the one which fetches you the score. So the score that you will get in ZAT will be on the basis of this part. So the 75 questions of VA, LR, DM, and QADI. So these are the three sections. Combined, you will have 75 questions roughly, because that sometimes, drops one or two questions from one section, increases one or two questions in another section. So they keep doing that, but it will range in around this number. So 74, 75, 76 total number of questions in the first part. Second part will have 25 GK questions and one descriptive question, which is essay typically. So if I remember this correctly, in 2019, the first time ZAT went online, that would be wrong to say, by the way. ZAT tried to go online long before CAT, but it didn't work out. So they stopped, but then they found a better way. And then 2019 onwards, they have been conducting this in online only. But if I'm not wrong, in 2019, when they relaunched the online version for ZAT, they took off essay from the test. But again, it doesn't really matter when this is tested, because ultimately if essay is shifted out of the online thing, it will be anyhow part of the WAT test when you go for the second round, once you get a call. And even in this situation, the GK and the essay scores are only looked for the final selection in XLRI. Some of the colleges, for example, SPGen, I don't think SPGen looks for the GK score and essay score any which way. So they just look for the ZAT score. I might have to check this, but I'm pretty sure they don't look for that. They'll have their own WAT and those kind of things. So this criteria, the GK and essay thing is specifically for XLRI and maybe XIMB, I'm not sure. XIMB is also Xavier's college, so could be for XIMB as well, but definitely for XLRI. They will consider these scores, the GK score and the essay score, once you're into the final selection phase. And the time you will get is 165 minutes for the first part. So 75 questions. Again, there's no sectional time limit here. CAT and NMAT both have sectional time limit, but ZAT doesn't have that. 25 minutes for the second section. So 25 minutes for the GK and the essay. That is the time split, you can say. Now coming to the marking scheme, everything but GK will carry +1 and incorrect answer minus 0.25. ZAT has 5 options, by the way. So it maintains that idea, expected value 0. So +1 for correct and minus 0.25 for incorrect. Now, this is an interesting thing about ZAT. This ZAT has always mentioned. Now they have clarified this a little bit. Earlier, it didn't used to happen section-wise. They used to take a total count, and that became too much complicated. They used to redistribute the negatives among the sections. Thinking that makes me scary. Anyhow, so now what they have done is for each section, after any suppose, let me explain this with an example. So suppose you have, let's say 30 VLR questions. So out of the 30 VLR questions, you leave out 10 questions. So if you leave out 10 questions, beyond 8, that is 2 more questions, right? So for each of those questions, beyond 8 for a particular section, you will get a minus 0.1. So if you have left out 10 questions in a particular section, you will get a minus 0.2 additionally over and above any penalties that you accrue over the incorrect answer. But still remember one thing, this is something we will discuss any which way in the ZAT strategy and all. But remember one thing, minus 0.1 is still better than minus 0.25 in terms of value. So minus 0.1, don't just mark a question just to avoid this. I mean, just to avoid this, if you mark this, if you mark a random answer, then you might get this. So in order to avoid this, getting this is not strategic enough, right? So obviously, I mean, maintain a good strategy. We'll come to those things in marathons. But as I said, I mean, don't assume that you have to answer all but 8 questions for every section. That is not a strategy at all. That is there in the marking scheme. Whatever is the marking scheme is applicable to all applicants, not only you. So this is all I had to mention about ZAT. IIFT again, I mean, IIFT is, I consider it to be a very time-consuming paper because that is what they typically, try to do. They try to destabilize aspirants by giving time-consuming questions. I mean, whether it's a time-consuming DI set or sometimes time-consuming RCs, they typically like to do that. But again, if you calm yourself down and think that, okay, if it is time-consuming for me, might be time-consuming for rest of everybody, and that is. So you will automatically, handle yourself in the paper. So don't worry on that part. The important things to take a note of. So if you just add this quickly, you'll get 110. So that's a total of 110 questions in 120 minutes, right? So similar to NMAT in terms of time-wise distribution, if you think about. So for CAT, and so let me just show this once. I think you will be already aware of this. But 24 in 40 minutes, roughly 2 minutes per question. 2 minutes per question, roughly 2 minutes per question. That is the average time that you're getting, right? But when it comes to NMAT, you will have 36 VA questions in 28 minutes. So that is less than a minute. 36 QADI questions in 52 minutes, just over a minute. 36 LRCR questions in 40 minutes, just over a minute. So sort of this standard is, in terms of question-wise difficulty, you might say. Obviously, if the average time of the paper is coming out to be close to 1 minute per question, then it makes sense that the paper will not have very difficult questions, which will be a lot of time consuming. So that is a little bit, which creates a little bit dilemma in my mind whenever I think about IIFT. But it is what it is. I mean, every year aspirants have been cracking it. Every year people have been going into this top B school. So obviously it's a competition, right? I mean, it's not, you have to aim for a certain percentage. So whatever is applicable to you is applicable to everybody. So the need for identifying the correct questions in IIFT becomes automatically more important. I hope you get that moral or value out of it. So coming to the marking scheme, all but the GK section has +3 and you get a -1. So in both the in all of the sections, you get 1/3 of the positive marks as penalty in case you get a wrong answer. In everything but GK, there's a +3 correct answer, so obviously -1, 1/3 of that. And GK, you have 1.5 per question, and you get a 1/3 of that as penalty if you get it incorrect. Unattempted, no negative. So that's about that. SNAP is a very short exam. Again, it falls under that 1 minute per question category type of test, but it's a very short paper. It's a very short time also. It's a 60-minute 60 question paper. It has +1 and -1 to 5, but for some reason they have 4 options. The expected value is positive in this case. So scoring in negative in SNAP should be very difficult. But anyhow, question standard wise, again, it's not a very easy, I would say, but it's definitely falls in the category of NMAT, I would say, in terms of level or difficulty of the questions that you can expect. The name of the section is VRC, I think that is self-explanatory. QADI should also be. ARLR, I mean, analytical reasoning, they call it, so I've kept it as that, ARLR. But again, this is similar to the LRCR of NMAT. So they'll have critical reasoning and those kind of questions also in this section. Important to note about SNAP. SNAP doesn't have a sectional cutoff, at least till last year. So all the other colleges will have all the other top colleges. So I'm talking about Symbiosis. So Symbiosis are the top colleges of SNAP. Couple of them are very good. SIVM Pune and SMHRD Pune. I think you might have found that in the second slide of the B schools. But those colleges do not take into consideration sectional cutoff. So sectional percentage, it's all an overall game for this paper. And same with this Maharashtra CET as well. So Maharashtra CET is for JBMS. I have dedicated a slide for this because JBMS as a college is, I mean, I'm not talking about the, what they call it, MMS course. So equivalent to MBA, I think Masters in Management Studies or something. So MMS course and JBMS I'm talking about, it's one of the creme-de-la-cremes. Hence, I've dedicated one complete slide for Maharashtra CET. Maharashtra CET is a race. I mean, this is till now all the exams that you have considered are, if you take an average time per minute, it is close to a minute or a minute, right? SNAP was a minute. NMAT was the only thing in the VA section. If you remember, the number of questions were 36 and the time was less than 36. So therein you had less than a minute per question, right? In this case, there are no sectional time limits for Maharashtra CET. But if you take a total count, there's a 200 questions out here and you have 150 minutes. So this is race in time. The interesting thing is there is no negative marking, no indirect also. This is a computer-based test. So there is no adaptive nature also. I think MHCET also gives an option for taking it offline on paper pen. I'm not completely sure about that. You can check it from the DTE website. If you are from Maharashtra, any which way. If you're not from Maharashtra, this doesn't make sense because there are a huge quota for that. If you are from Maharashtra, you can definitely consider JBMS as one of your aspirations. So yeah, that's all about MHCET. And MICAT and TISSNET, I think I did talk about this. TISSNET is the entrance test for TISS in HR, the college I was talking about, and MICAT is for MICA, again, the college I was earlier talking about in the B schools. So, and I think I mentioned this. So for TISSNET, for TISS, actually, the college I'm talking about, they provide a MA degree in HR. But as I mentioned, that is equivalent to an MBA in HR from any top B school. So you don't need to worry thinking that, okay, I'm not getting an MBA, I'm getting an MA. But that is not a problem. It's the placements and everything happens in the same kind of companies, in the same kind of profiles as well. In terms of the exam itself, this is one section you have to be careful about. There is a lot of static GK that are asked related to history, geography, and stuff. So you need to have a bit of knowledge for that. You need to prepare specifically for that. Contact me if you have any queries regarding that. MICAT, as I mentioned earlier, MICA offers a unique course in their program. Not only that, they also have quite a unique paper. They have descriptive essays but their essays are on the basis of some images and some creative writing. So there's an interesting paper for MICA. If you are good with it, you will automatically be good with it. The part that you need to prepare for, aptitude part, that will be anyhow part of our course. The other things, slight here and there, we can definitely help you. So get in contact with us if you are looking for either of these two exams. And yeah, basically that concludes what I had to talk about. I'll wait for some time if you have any doubts. But before I do that, I'm doing YouTube live for the first time. That was also a reason why it started a little late. I messed up the links and everything. As I want the uploaded video to be mostly informative, so I need to first check the capability of editing the video on YouTube itself. If it doesn't suffice, then I'll upload a new video. It will be linked to this video properly, and I'll keep it for a week or something so that you can access the new video. Easily access the new video, that is. And if you are subscribed to our channel and have the notifications on, you will get the notification as soon as we upload the video any which way. So if you are not, do it now. And also important to explain this, this message is primarily for the YouTube viewers. As I mentioned this earlier, for our enrolled students, the recording you'll find in the course itself. Also, I know that some of you might log off now. So just a small thank you from my end. Remember that this session is meant to help you make the right choices in terms of college selections and applications. So wishing you all the best for your aspirations. And for those who are currently not enrolled with us, we are rolling out 30% discounts on our practice session course as well as our CAT comprehensive program. You can visit our website, MathOratory.com, go to our courses tab, and therein you'll find CAT practice sessions as well as the CAT comprehensive course if you are planning to take the full program. You can also check the brand new videos tab at MathOratory.com, and you'll find a new tab called videos. We will also add a demo of how to take trials for these two courses. The ones I talked about, CAT practice sessions and CAT comprehensive course. I'll add a section in this video, or if not possible, in the new video, as I was talking about, how to access trials for these two courses. And also I'll mention in the trials, in the demo of that, what you get in those trials. So it will be added in the fresh video or this video if the edits are possible. If a new video is uploaded, we'll link it, as I mentioned. A easy solution for you would be, you can always access the video tab, as I mentioned. So if you access the video tab in our website, MathOratory.com, then you'll always find the updated version. So that's it from my end. Sorry for that. I'll wait for some time. I'll wait for, say, half an hour or something, and I'll unmute. I'll allow that unmute option for all of you, so that if you have any doubts. Yeah, so now you can unmute, guys. If you have any specific doubts, you can ask me now. I'll wait for half an hour any which way. I can wait for more if you have more doubts. That is not a problem. But I'm going to wait any which way.
I had a question. So
Yeah,
ISB and all, they also accept GRE as their as one of the exams.
ISB has started accepting GRE, yes.
Yeah.
There will
So
always be some seat limitations. I mean, they'll not do, I mean, they'll not allocate as such, but
hmm,
they will always have a preference towards GMAT. They have started accepting GRE for a different reason because many B schools abroad have started
hmm.
accepting GRE for, let's say, past 2, 3 years or something.
Yes, yes.
So I think COVID was a reason, I'm guessing, could be.
Yeah.
But they have started doing that. Yeah, ISB has started accepting it, but I would say that if you are preparing for ISB,
Hmm.
so if you are eager to aspire for ISB, that is, in that case, I would say your first preference should be GMAT.
Okay. So would there be reserved seats for separately for GMAT and GRE?
As I said, that is not going to happen as is. I mean, not
Hmm.
so blandly, you might put it. But
Okay.
then, yes, there will be a little bit of preference, obviously. Think about it. I mean, you have always taken GMAT, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
you started taking GRE because you have seen a little maybe chance of getting better candidates. It
Hmm.
will never happen with ISB that they're not being able to fulfill their seats, right? That will never happen to ISB.
Yeah.
So, what is the other side of it? So, it could be that they have maybe observed that we can find some better candidates from GRE as well. So, let's look into that part as well.
Okay.
So, hence maybe they have expanded. So, ultimately, kya hoga? In GRE, they will look for the cream ones, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, तो obviously मतलब वो चीज हो जाएगा what you were talking about that reserve
Hmm.
उसमें GMAT के थ्रू ही ज्यादा होगा but
Hmm.
then they don't have that demarcation ऐसा नहीं होगा कभी
Okay.
मतलब ऐसा नहीं
Understood.
होगा that will automatically happen that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Understood. And when there are admissions for these B schools,
Right.
do they have a specific criteria in terms of if the student is for say not from an engineering background or if it's a
Let,
female student? What are the
let
uh,
me, that's a good question by the way. I understood your question.
yeah.
I think I understood it. I mean, just complete that one. I got confused with the last line that you asked. What is
No,
it?
I just wanted to ask ki, is there any specific are there any specific seats reserved for these students or is there
Oh,
a
okay. Yeah. I understood it. So, see, understand one basic thing about any top B school, any B school for that matter. Top B school में ज़्यादा होता है because उनके पास choice ज़्यादा होता है ना students का. So, ideally, they are not the person who decides this.
okay.
They observe and try to keep observing what is the corporate demanding.
Okay.
क्योंकि ultimately तो उन्हें place करना है ना MBA करके. So when they see that corporate may there's a demand for non-engineers and they want a bit of diversity in terms of this, whatever. They tend to follow the same route.
Okay, understood.
So what they will try to do is, see, first of all, these criterias that you were talking about, right? There is no as such fixed criteria for. It has started to become stabilized now. We can consider this as the longest run or something, but still there it happens. I mean, some minute changes happen year to year, and Hona is common sense only because every year you can't say that the exact same profile of candidates has applied for it, right? So थोड़ा बहुत तो उसमें change हो जाता है ना automatically.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind, I mean, the thing that happens is they do a sort of a scenario analysis बोला जाता है इसको, ठीक है ना? MBA में you will also learn. What they will do is they'll set up some criteria for whatever, maybe CAT का score हो गया, वर्क एक्स का कितना years हो गया, जेंडर हो गया, कुछ भी मतलब क्राइटेरिया कुछ डिसाइड कर लिया, ठीक है? उसके बेसिस में अलग अलग पॉइंट डिसाइड कर लिया कि इसमें इतना पॉइंट दे देंगे, इसमें इतना पॉइंट दे देंगे, whatever, and then they get a final point or something, right? For each and every candidate who fulfills their minimum criteria. तो एक मिनिमम एलिजिबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया होता है हर एक कॉलेज का. तो देखना IIMs के वेबसाइट वगैरह में आई थिंक लिखा होगा कि 50% वगैरह मिलना होता है इन टिल योर ग्रेजुएशन. and also that in sections you have to meet a 80 percentile or 85 percentile mark. ठीक है ना? So those are the minimum criteria. That is not you get a call. तो वो जो minimum criteria जो students qualify कर रहा है, there will be a pool created of that. ठीक है? And उसके बाद जो criteria मैंने बोला ना कि पहले वो लोग randomly, मतलब randomly तो एकदम नहीं, through their past history or whatever, वो डाल के देखेगा कि उस pool में से कितने candidates ने qualify किया.
Okay.
ठीक है? अब क्या होता है, that is called scenario analysis. So what they do is they'll see. So I'm giving you a random example to explain this. So suppose उस pool में से फिर जो criteria उन्होंने डाला था, उसके basis में they see that there are 2000 people who fulfills that criteria. ठीक है ना? And suppose if you are one of the top B schools, तुम्हें चाहिए कि I need to give call to at least 3000 people.
Okay.
ठीक है? तो तुम्हें पता है कि you need to relax some of the criteria. तो मे बी थोड़ा बहुत इधर उधर क्राइटेरिया में एडजस्टमेंट किया और फिर से एक क्वेरी चला दिया, एंड देन दे सी दैट 3500 4000 पीपल कुछ आ गया, तो फिर कुछ टाइट कर दिया. ठीक है ना? तो वहां पे कुछ एडजस्ट करके दे सेट अप द फाइनल थिंग. समझ में आया? सो दैट इज हाउ इट गोस. नाउ फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल दैट इज द रीजन जो कॉल आने में टाइम लगता है. फर्स्ट थिंग, बिकॉज ये जो मैंने बोला कि क्राइटेरिया डिसाइड कर लिया, ये डिसाइड तो एक बंदा नहीं कर रहा है ना, देयर इज अ डिस्कशन दैट इज गोइंग ऑन, राइट? सो वो थोड़ा सा टाइम लगता है उसको होने में. सेकेंडली, another thing that to take a note of is that I hope you understood that there is no rigid system as such, right?
Yeah, right.
अगर सिस्टम रिजिड भी हो तो फाइनल पॉइंट जो होगा टू क्वालिफाई वो रिजिड नहीं हो सकता. वो भी चेंज होने का चांस है, मतलब हो नहीं सकता, गलत बोला मैंने, मतलब होना जरूरी नहीं है ना.
Yeah, right.
Isn't it? So this is how it happens. ठीक है? So इतना दूर का मत सोच. See, what your target should be, as I have mentioned this again and again, while you are preparing for CAT, your objective is to maximize your potential.
Yes.
अपना potential में कितना आगे बढ़ा सकता हो. When you are on the CAT day, where you are on the D day, तब ऐसा होना चाहिए कि you fulfill that potential. है ना? पोटेंशियल बहुत ज्यादा है बट फुलफिल नहीं कर पाया, फायदा क्या हुआ? यू नीड टू फुलफिल दैट पोटेंशियल ऑन द डी डे, राइट? तो इन ऑर्डर टू फुलफिल दैट पोटेंशियल, वो सब मॉक एनालिसिस जो वर्कशॉप्स पे करते आ रहे हैं हम लोग, डिसीजन मेकिंग, दोस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स, राइट? बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली पोटेंशियल मैक्सिमाइज कब, मतलब पोटेंशियल को फुलफिल कब नहीं कर पाओगे? व्हेन यू हैव नॉट प्लेड स्मार्टली, राइट, इन द पेपर, तभी होगा. सो दोस आर द थिंग्स दैट यू शुड वरी अबाउट राइट नाउ. बिकॉज सी, I hope you remember the first time we spoke, right? First time मैंने सबसे पहले ये कोई भी स्टूडेंट से मैं करता हूँ, I think तेरे से भी वही हुआ था. Why are you interested in MBA?
Yeah, right.
पूछा था, remember? So I started with that discussion. Obviously, I wanted to know whether you are actually interested in MBA or not. कि दुनिया कर रही है इसलिए कर रहा हूँ. That should not be the attitude, right? So if you have taken a decision and that is a legitimate decision कि MBA तुम्हें करना है, so now your focus should be कि कैसे करना है, not that कि मुझे करना है. You don't have to ponder on that thing anymore. समझ रही है? So forget that. So now focus on the preparation side of it. ठीक है?
Okay.
But I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else, Gyana?
No, not from my side. About the timelines, I wanted to ask कि do all these exams happen in November or the timeline?
Okay, अच्छा, वो शायद मैंने बोला नहीं था, बट वही मैंने बोला ना, वो नोटिफिकेशन में आता रहेगा. बट अभी बता देता हूँ, if you ask, CAT तो फिक्स डेट है, 1 डे को होता है ना? So it will happen on the last Sunday of November.
Okay.
That fixed है, that will happen on first Sunday of January.
Okay.
इसलिए if you remember, मैंने जब पैटर्न वाला दिखा रहा था ना स्लाइड, देख CAT का मतलब ZAT का छोड़ के सब में देख पैटर्न 2021 लिखा हुआ है. ZAT में इट इज पैटर्न 2022, क्योंकि 2022 का ZAT हो चुका है. अब जो अगला होने वाला है वो 2023 होगा, क्योंकि जनवरी में होता है ना ZAT.
ओके, ठीक है. तब मेरे को देख के लगा था कि शायद ZAT का आ गया है डेट.
हाँ, वो आई अंडरस्टैंड दैट, बट ZAT, अच्छा, ZAT का एप्लीकेशन स्टार्ट होगा मोटा मोटा 10th अगस्त के आसपास. ओके, ठीक है. आई एम सॉरी, कुछ शायद वो ड्रिल कुछ चल रहा है तो थोड़ा आवाज आ सकता है. एनीहाउ, तो एज आई वाज सेइंग, ZAT का फर्स्ट संडे ऑफ जनवरी को होता है. ठीक है. IFT will be most probably the next Sunday of CAT. That is first Sunday of December. ठीक है ना?
Okay.
तो IFT का वो होता है. अब NMAT और SNAP एक दिन में नहीं होता है. SNAP का क्या होता है? You are मतलब 3 specific days होता है. Last year जो था, if I'm remembering this correctly, एक डेट दिसंबर को था और 2 डेट्स जनवरी को था. 3 स्पेसिफिक डेट था. उसमें से यू कैन अप्लाई ट्वाइस. ठीक है, ये स्नैप का सिस्टम है. और इनमैट का विंडो पीरियड होता है. आई थिंक द विंडो पीरियड विल स्टार्ट इन 1st of October and it will run till mid of December. ठीक है, इन दैट विंडो पीरियड यू कैन जस्ट बुक अ डेट अपने हिसाब से. ठीक है,
Okay. So it's like GMAT sort of.
हाँ सॉरी,
it's like GMAT that you
हाँ,
can.
it's like GMAT sort of. हाँ, मतलब GMAT में तो साल भर होता है.
हाँ, साल भर.
GMAT में हाँ, और GMAT के तरह ही, मतलब जैसे GMAT you can take multiple times in a year, उसका भी शायद कैप है, 5 बार ले सकता है, ऐसा कुछ है शायद. NMAT का भी सिमिलर है, मतलब इन द विंडो यू कैन टेक मैक्सिमम 3 days. NMIMS जो मतलब which is the top college of NMAT, right? NMIMS मुंबई that I'm talking about. इन लोगों ने पिछले साल क्या किया था? सो एडेप्टिव इन लोगों का लास्ट टू लास्ट ईयर हो गया था, 2020 में हो गया था. ठीक है, लास्ट ईयर NMIMS मुंबई ने अनाउंस किया कि दे विल ओनली कंसीडर द फर्स्ट टेक.
ओके,
तो बाकी टेक्स तुम ले सकते हो, बट दैट विल बी फॉर अ डिफरेंट कॉलेज, नॉट NMIMS मुंबई. दैट विल नॉट बी एप्लीकेबल फॉर. तो NMIMS मुंबई के लिए तुमको पहला टेक ही फाड़ना पड़ेगा. समझ में आ गया?
हाँ, ओके,
ठीक है. सो अगेन दैट डेट पिकिंग एंड दोस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स ना, वो सब हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे, पर्सनली करेंगे सब स्टूडेंट के साथ. तो डोंट वरी.
ओके,
ठीक है, दैट रिजॉल्व्स.
या, थैंक यू.
कौस्तव तू अनम्यूट क्यों नहीं कर रहा? क्या हुआ? तू चैट में लिखे जा रहा है. अच्छा, कौस्तव, अबाउट द वेटेज ऑफ एप्लीकेंट्स लाइक द कॉमर्स और इंजीनियरिंग, ये तो मैंने समझाया शायद ज्ञाना को.
या,
ओ कौस्तव, हाँ ओके, एंड जॉब एक्सपीरियंस, हाँ ये भी तो शायद मैंने समझा दिया. तो आई थिंक दिस इज डन. यूट्यूब में देख लेता कुछ शायद. क्या जैट का पूछ रहा है क्या? जैट में 5 ऑप्शंस होता है. यू हैव +1 and -0.25 फॉर ईच क्वेश्चन.
So,
हाँ,
sir, does MICA also accept CAT scores?
कैट लेता था पहले, बट उसके बाद फिर MICAT होता था. अभी इंडिपेंडेंट हो गया शायद, अभी MICAT ही होता है.
So what is so different in the MICA?
MICAT में ना,
Yeah,
MICAT में एप्टीट्यूड वाला पार्ट तो होता ही है, बट उनका इंग्लिश में थोड़ा ज्यादा फोकस रहता है एप्टीट्यूड वाले में. नंबर 1. नंबर 2, दे हैव सम स्पेशल टेस्ट. साइकोमेट्रिक टेस्ट होता है उनका, डिस्क्रिप्टिव टेस्ट होता है, मतलब एक पिक्चर दे देगा, उसके बारे में तेरे को लिखना पड़ेगा, समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो थोड़ा अलग है उनका टेस्ट.
So when is MICAT is in February, right? Is it a very difficult paper?
एग्जाम एक था दिसंबर को और एक जनवरी को. एक था 4th, मतलब मैं लास्ट टर्म का बात कर रहा हूँ. एक था 4th दिसंबर को और एक था 29 जनवरी को. सुनाई दिया?
Yeah.
हाँ.
तो बहुत डिफिकल्ट होता है MICAT?
नहीं, डिफिकल्ट वैसे मतलब सी डिफिकल्ट मतलब इन द सेंस कि डिफरेंट होता है. अब हमेशा डिफरेंट मतलब ही डिफिकल्ट होता है, ऐसा जरूरी होता है क्या?
नहीं.
पूछ लो, नहीं ना. सो हाँ ठीक है, मतलब उसके लिए देख, सी फॉर एग्जांपल WAT जो एसे वाला पार्ट है, ठीक है, एसे वाला पार्ट तो तुम्हें वैसे भी प्रिपेयर करना पड़ेगा. कैट इनफैक्ट अगर तुम IIM में भी एम कर रहा है तो फॉर एग्जांपल कैट क्रैक करना काफी नहीं है ना, उसके बाद आगे का फर्दर राउंड्स रहेगा, राइट? यू विल गेट अ कॉल, यू नीड टू क्लियर दोस राउंड्स एंड देन यू विल गेट अ फाइनल कन्वर्ट, राइट? तो वो जो आगे का राउंड्स होता है उसमें PI एंड वैट रहता है मैक्सिमम आयंस में, कुछ में GD भी होता है. तो PI एंड वैट जो है, PI तो पर्सनल इंटरव्यू होगा, WAT जो है रिटन असेसमेंट टेस्ट, दैट इज एन एसे ओनली. ठीक है ना. द माइका में डिफरेंस ये हो जाता है कि वो इमेज दे देते हैं मोस्ट प्रोबेबली, और उसके बेस में लिखना होता है. ठीक है ना. बट इसमें टॉपिक रहेगा, दैट इज ओनली डिफरेंस. सो डोंट वरी ऑन दैट पार्ट. आई मीन राइटिंग स्किल्स एंड दोस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स वी विल वर्क ऑन एनी व्हिच वे. ठीक है.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So when we'll have these test marathons, would GK be also a part of those tests?
Obviously.
Okay.
Even in the mocks. मतलब इन एग्जाम्स का स्पेसिफिक मॉक्स भी होगा ना.
हम्म।
जिन एग्जाम में मॉक मतलब जिन एग्जाम में जीके आता है उनके मॉक्स में भी जीके होगा,
ठीक है।
वर्कशॉप्स में भी होगा, मैराथन जो होगा ना,
या
स्पेसिफिक एग्जाम्स का सब कुछ कवर होगा, ठीक है।
ठीक है।
अब जीके पढ़ा नहीं सकते ना, दैट इज
हाँ,
ऑल,
राइट।
मतलब जीके पढ़ाएंगे क्या, जस्ट रीड न्यूज़पेपर, एज सिंपल एज दैट,
या
बट होगा, मतलब टेस्टिंग होगा, यू विल बी
ठीक है।
टेस्टेड।
सर, ISB Mohali, how is that?
इट हैज स्टार्टेड टू इंप्रूव अ बिट,
हम्म।
उसका कुछ कोर्स अच्छा है, जो फेलोशिप वाले कोर्सेस है दे आर डूइंग वेल,
ओके।
and otherwise also it's just improving quite a bit because ISP का brand अच्छा है ना
या राइट
खुद
राइट।
का, so that is definitely pushing them a bit.
ओके।
And yeah, it has been improving quite a bit. अगर मुझे वो category जो buckets बनाया था ना मैंने,
हम्म।
अगर उसमें अगर मेरे को डालना है, I'll put it in between second and third bucket,
ओके।
मतलब second bucket में बहुत जल्दी जा सकता है वैसा टाइप का।
ठीक है।
Yeah, I'm guessing there are no more doubts. वहाँ पे तो कोई पोस्ट नहीं कर रहा है, और Jana, I guess everything was resolved, whatever your queries.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ठीक है, then let's close the session. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you, sir.
Next
Thank you.
workshops 10 AM से start होगा, याद है ना, मतलब next से तुम लोग का रिक्वेस्ट था ना, ठीक है ना।
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Next Sunday we'll have all the workshops starting from 10 AM, ठीक है।
Yes, sir.
Gear up, all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care guys, good night, good afternoon brother.
Good afternoon.
जल्दी खत्म हो गया नहीं आज।
Thanks, sir.